You're standing in line. Nothing is happening. Your hand is already moving towards your pocket. 10 seconds pass. You check your phone anyway. That twitchy, itchy feeling has a name. Scientists call it boredom, and you feel it as an emptiness that needs to be filled immediately. But the real answer to where that feeling comes from is far stranger than a phone habit. It's older than agriculture, older than cities, older than language itself. Your ancestors felt it too. Around a fire 30,000 years ago with nothing to do and nowhere to be. Did they reach for something? What did they reach for? Boredom feels modern. It feels like a problem invented by convenience, by an abundance of comfort and a scarcity of purpose. That's the story you've probably absorbed without ever questioning it. Ancient life was hard, so ancient people were never bored. They were too busy surviving. That story is wrong. Dr. John Eastwood, a psychologist at York University who has spent decades studying boredom, defines it simply. Boredom is the uncomfortable feeling of wanting to be engaged in something, but being unable to do so. Notice what that definition doesn't require. It doesn't require deadlines. It doesn't require a smartphone. It only requires a mind that wants stimulation and an environment that isn't providing it. Your ancestors had that mind. They absolutely had that environment. Anthropologist James Sussman spent years living among the Zhou/Huanxi, a hunter-gatherer people in the Kalahari Desert, whose way of life closely resembles how humans lived for most of history. What he found broke the assumption most people carry. The Zhou/Huanxi worked, on average, around 15 hours a week to meet their needs. 15 hours. That leaves an enormous stretch of time with nothing urgent to do. Sit with that for a second. If survival only took up a fraction of the week, what filled the rest of it? This actually echoes a much older argument. In 1966, anthropologist Marshall Solins proposed something radical. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society, not because they had more possessions, but because they wanted less and had more free time than almost any society that came after them. Affluence, in his framing, isn't about accumulation. It's about the gap between what you want and what you have. Ancient humans had a small gap and a large amount of open time. That open time had to go somewhere. It went into stories. It went into carving small figures out of bone. It went into staring at the shape of smoke rising from a fire and inventing a reason for it. Boredom, it turns out, wasn't a glitch your ancestors suffered through. It was a pressure, and pressure, applied over hundreds of thousands of years, shapes behavior in exactly the way evolution shapes everything else. Here's the twist your brain doesn't expect. Boredom might be one of the reasons you exist at all. Think about what a brain does the moment nothing external demands its attention. It doesn't shut off. Neuroscientist Marcus Rachel discovered this almost by accident. While studying brain scans of people who were told to simply rest, doing nothing in particular, he found that a specific network of brain regions, now called the default mode network, becomes more active during idle moments than during focus tasks. Your brain, when unoccupied, doesn't go quiet. It goes inward. It starts simulating, imagining, wandering through possibilities that don't exist yet. That wandering is not wasted time. It's the birthplace of planning, of storytelling, of imagining a future hunt, a different shelter, a new tool. An ancestor sitting bored by a fire wasn't failing to be productive. Their brain was quietly auditioning ideas that had never been tried. This is where boredom stops looking like a design flaw and starts looking like a design feature. Discomfort motivates change. If ancient life had felt endlessly satisfying exactly as it was, there would have been no itch to improve it. No reason to sharpen a stick differently. No reason to wonder what was on the other side of the ridge. Boredom created the itch. And the itch is what pushed a tool-using ape toward becoming an explorer, an artist, and eventually an engineer. Why do you think the earliest cave paintings weren't drawn during a famine or a flood? They were made during ordinary stretches of time when survival was, for the moment, handled. Boredom carved the space. Imagination filled it. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because your modern life has quietly broken the deal your ancestors had with their own boredom. For your ancestors, boredom always resolved into something. A story got told. A tool got shaped. A path got explored. The discomfort pushed outward into the world and came back satisfied. Today, the same ancient discomfort rises in you at a red light, in a waiting room, in the 60 seconds before a page loads. And instead of resolving into invention, it gets swallowed by a screen in less than a second. Dr. Eastwood's research points to something troubling here. Chronic boredom, the kind that never gets to resolve into meaningful engagement, is linked to worse mental health outcomes, including increased anxiety and depressive symptoms. The feeling itself isn't the problem. The problem is what happens when the feeling has nowhere real to go. Your ancestors' boredom always had somewhere to go. Yours often doesn't. Consider the shape of a modern day. Notifications arrive before the discomfort even has time to build. The itch appears and is scratched in the same second, over and over, thousands of times a week. There's no gap left for the default mode network to wander freely. No idle stretch long enough for a genuinely new thought to form. You are, in a very real sense, one of the first humans in history who almost never gets to be bored on purpose. And maybe that's the cost nobody warned you about. Because if boredom built the paintings on cave walls and pushed migration across entire continents, a bit, and quietly assembled the first stories ever told around a fire, then constant distraction isn't just filling time. It's replacing the exact mechanism that once turned empty time into invention. So the next time that itchy, restless feeling rises in a waiting room or a slow-moving line, consider not reaching for your phone immediately. Let it sit for a moment. Let your mind wander somewhere it wasn't sent to go. Your ancestors didn't fear that feeling. They followed it, all the way from a fire in the dark to everything you have now. You're standing in line. Nothing is happening. And for the first time, maybe you let it stay that way.